transferred to a company who considers political influence more important than complying with state laws. We ask that you do not certify the final SCR and do not approve the lease. Water is too important a resource. Californians deserve the full implementation of our environmental laws, and we look to you, commissioners, to uphold them. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Residents for Responsible Desal, Debbie Cook and her colleagues. I'm sorry. We'll take you after we have organized votes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Joe Geever, and I'm here with Debbie Cook on behalf of Residents for Responsible Desalination. R4RD is a group of local residents who work on water management reforms in Orange County. We've learned a great deal about water mismanagement since Poseidon opened our eyes with this deal proposal in 2001. We've written exhaustive comments on this SEIR, but today we want to address two interrelated issues. First, the basic objectives. The underlying premise in the SEIR is that there is a need for this water, but as you'll see, you can't make that finding with the information you have. We're also concerned about the statement of overriding considerations. Again, you should not sign a document that attempts to justify significant impacts when there is no credible evidence of a need for the project. As Debbie will explain, the documents provided to you about demand for the water cannot be trusted. Therefore, you cannot certify the EIR nor sign the statement of overriding conditions before you have clear and credible evidence of a need for the project. Not vague or fabricated, credible evidence is the required standard.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Debbie Cook. In 2003, when I was serving on the Huntington Beach City Council, I was asked to represent the League of California Cities on the California Desalination Task Force. By the time I left the council in 2008, I was well versed in desalination and Poseidon Resources in particular. Since 2008, I have tirelessly pursued Poseidon's activities as they lobbied their way around the state, trying to find a buyer for their water. In our opinion, the most critical issue that Poseidon must demonstrate to you today is that the Orange County Water District has a need for 50 million gallons per day of desalinated water. It is disappointing to report that based on my research, OCWD and Poseidon have cherry-picked their data in order to manufacture a need. In a white paper presented to you in 2016, Poseidon used the OCWD's 2015 groundwater management plan to substantiate a demand forecast of 525,000 acre-feet. This number was in direct conflict with the projection in the Municipal Water District's 2015 Water Reliability Study that projects demand in 2040 at 434,000 acre-feet. MoDOC's 2015 plan was the most comprehensive look at water needs in Orange County that the agency has ever undertaken, incorporating demand management strategies to better predict future needs. And MoDOC used extremely conservative assumptions to ensure that they weren't underestimating future demand. Their study resulted in a 90,000 acre-foot reduction in future demand from previous inaccurate projections. The public response to the 2015 drought has proven that future demand modeling must implement these new methodologies in order to keep agencies from building unnecessary infrastructure that can become stranded assets. Demand softening is not a new trend. It has been occurring throughout the county since 1999. It is happening in Santa Ana, where the usage in August, according to a KPCC investigation, was 51 gallons per capita, and it's happening in Newport Beach, where it was 100 gallons. But OCWD has chosen to go rogue and manufacture its own projections. Leaving that issue aside, I want to point to a pattern of behavior that has come to light as a result of a Public Records Act request by Surf City Voice. We received hundreds of emails between OCWD and Poseidon that demonstrate a level of collusion far beyond what is appropriate for a public agency. The records we received showed conclusively that what OCWD sent this commission was put together with the sole intent to mislead. It is not evidence you can use to base your decisions on. These are two charts prepared by OCWD's John Kennedy and emailed to Poseidon to use as they prepared material to convince this commission of need. The top two pie charts are supposed to be current conditions, and the bottom two charts are a future scenario with Poseidon. The chart on the left was sent in May, and the one on the right in June. They can't be both correct, and they are both misleading. Proving there is a need for this project can't be just a matter of choosing the data that serves the desired result. You can't sign the statement of overriding considerations without trustworthy evidence. But what is really perplexing is trying to reconcile the data in the chart that OCWD submitted to you on September 8th with the previous charts and with their own reports. These charts are now identified as sources of supply rather than actual demand, but the accompanying letter implies that they are one and the same. In 2015, actual demand, according to Orange County's own 2015-16 engineers report, was 367,000 acre-feet, not 425,000. Basin pumping that year was 75%, which means that less than 100,000 acre-feet was treated imported water from MWD. This inconsistency in terms, the constantly changing numbers, and eliminating information is intended to mislead you. If their 2015 chart is so fallacious, what is your confidence level in the 2023 chart? How do they justify 455,000 acre-feet in 2023? They clearly did not use MODOC's Urban Water Management Plan. And another method that they use to confuse the issue is the overdraft of the basin. The amount of water in storage is a management issue and remedied by increasing purchases and or reducing basin pumping. The board makes that decision once per year with consultation with member agencies. Frequently, the member agencies persuade OCWD's board to reduce the amount of imported water they purchase in order to keep lower rates that have risen on average 8.5% per year since 1999. That's a choice for them, but it's not about unreliability of imported water. OCWD usually accommodates those requests, even when it means violating their own policy. At the height of the drought in 2015, the board not only did not increase their replenishment budget, they increased basin pumping percentage. Poseidon recognizes how important the issue of need is in order to convince you that only Poseidon's project will meet the basic objectives in the SEIR. In an exchange between board member Kathy Green and Poseidon Scott Maloney lamenting the comments of Irvine Ranch Water District to your SEIR, Scott says to her, "We're really going to need OCWD to put in a big push for the need for the project," which is what you're seeing today. But the facts are the facts. OCWD is a groundwater management agency, and they cannot sell water outside of their jurisdiction. They have tied themselves into a pretzel trying to figure out what to do with this water, coming up with no less than 10 options for distribution. At multiple workshops, OCWD's staff, not wanting to ruffle board feathers, gently makes the case for less water, such as smaller program is more feasible for Poseidon project, up to 10,000 acre-feet per year. Importantly, a 10,000 acre-foot project makes subsurface intakes even more feasible. In another slide, potential to have too much water for recharge in some years. And another, possibility for coastal groundwater levels to become too high, potentially creating issues. It has been nearly 20 years since Poseidon arrived in Southern California from Connecticut. Since then, residents and businesses have continued to reduce cumulative demand in the county, and we have developed a world-renowned wastewater recycling and groundwater replenishment project, delivering 103,000 acre-feet that did not exist when Poseidon arrived. Even more exciting, that project has encouraged LA County Sanitation to do the same thing with their wastewater, and Orange County could get 65,000 acre-feet for their groundwater replenishment. We have much more potential for conservation and stormwater retention, including storing more water behind Prado Dam, which is in the works. Now OCWD is struggling to figure out what they would do with Poseidon's water, and the idea of putting it into the groundwater basin is running the risk of crowding out preferred alternatives. Poseidon came here because this was one of two places they found a power plant owner willing to share the intake and discharge pipes, not because they were solicited, and those intake and discharge pipes are now being phased out to protect marine life. We haven't needed Poseidon for 20 years that they've been here, and if and when we decide we need desalinated ocean water, then we should decide how much we need, where it should be built, what technology to use, and who should build and operate it. Poseidon has turned this process on its head. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.